Ichigo awakens by Telach, Chapter 31, Execution Found. Execution Found. In Karakura High School, Ichigo wandered through the halls of his school, still reeling from the events in Soul Society and their homecoming. Before his dad, and his squad departed from the world of the living, Urahara and Maruri gave a disturbing description of his current state of being. They predicted that if he returned to his body without the seal, it would be torn apart by the wild reishi running through his being. They wanted to seal his power completely, just to be on the safe side because he still had a human life to lead. His mom was home by then, already working on dinner with Yuzu, and for the first time in years, the Kurukara family was whole and enjoying being a family again. She started catching up to all the years she missed by watching the videos Ishin made. Everything was fine until she found one that Ishin swore he was going to hide. Ichigo and his sisters fled when their mother became disturbingly like Unohana and demanded that cradle robbing hussy Ruichi was teaching her baby boy. That morning, she demanded to meet Ichigo's girlfriends to see if they passed the mom test, she called it. This is my life, Ichigo groaned, not looking forward to this entire week. I should know better than to expect it to be easy. He looked down at the small wooden badge with a skull on it on his belt loop. It was given to him in case he couldn't use Kon for any reason, and they could monitor and control his Reiatsu in case things went south. He understood the reason, but he hated that he was vulnerable again. When he asked Lisa about her thoughts on the matter, she told him lieutenants shouldn't get their hands dirty with Grunt's work, and then left the joint. He left the joint. Hiyori at the Shoten. I'd taken the squad with her. Ichigo! He heard a familiar yelling as Keiko ran towards him, stopping in front of the hybrid and avoiding a surprise lariat. I heard from Chad that everything's good, Keiko said, smiling happily that his friends were safe. But what changed? He asked as they headed for class. Mizuru joining them. Well, there's finally a squad of Shinigami here to handle the dead and the hollows, he said as they walked. I can finally get back to focusing on my schoolwork. He reached his desk as his friends began congratulating him. Orihime wrapped her arms around him, asking for details on his time in Soul Society. Chizuru attempted to attack Ichigo before Tatsuki pulled her back and whispered in her ear something that turned Chizuru redder than her hair with a look of contemplation. Chad looked at Ichigo with grave eyes that told Ichigo something was up. Will frighteningly enough, was the cheeriest of the group. Hey everybody, he said with a smile. What a beautiful day it is. How are you, Ichigo? He asked as everyone backed away from him. Uryu, stop that, Ichigo ordered, still looking mentally scared. You're scaring me. Uryu merely chuckled. My apologies. It's just something good happened, he said, displaying his purification cross with 5 points. What was broken is now fixed, he said, manifesting a small black metal ball. It was surprising for most of them, but for Ichigo, it was a miracle. Your powers were restored, he said, shocking the rest of the group. Uryu kept grinning. Yes, my once lost powers were fully restored, and I'm finally ready for the next level. He put a hand out in front of his cousin. I'll always have your back, he said with a smile. Chad put his hand in with no hesitation, followed by Orihime and Tatsuki. Ichigo smiled, and before he put his hand in, Keiko joined in. I'm just a specter here, he said with a smile, but I'm ready in any way you need. Mizuru put his hands next, and finally Chizuru. They looked at him expectantly, and Ichigo could only smile at his friends before putting his hand on top. Thanks, guys. This means a lot, he said as they separated and went to their seats. The day went on without much of a hitch. Sights of the new 15th Division members performing their duties came in every now and then, but overall everything seemed normal for the teens. Chad, Orihime, and Tatsuki never realized how bored society, but they all knew it wouldn't last. Everyone headed home except for Chad, who dragged Ichigo away. Ichigo, why can't I sense your power? Chad asked his friend. He wanted to be sure of something before bringing him anywhere near the execution. They got sealed, Ichigo replied. There's enough capable Shinigami in town now that I can kick back and relax. He spoke with melancholy. They only came undone in Soul Society, or if the situation really calls for it. He held up his hand. I can't channel or absorb Reishi with these seals on it. It's a pain. Ichigo groaned. Chad knew what he had to do. Ichigo was far from helpless, but with the coming wars, he needed to keep up his skills. Another skill set couldn't hurt either. You told me that your mother was attacked by a hollow, right? The Fullbringer asked his friend. Ichigo nodded and Chad continued. Then you can manipulate the souls of things. A soul psychosis ability. Ichigo raised an eyebrow. Watch, he said, taking off his medallion and holding it in his hand. He opened his other hand as the coin glowed with a pale green light and flew to his other hand. He then pointed to his feet as a pair of green rings resonated from his feet, and he disappeared in a burst of speed. I'm told this power is called full bring, manipulating the soul of objects around us to control as we desire. This is what my powers are, he explained to his friend. Our main abilities come from an object we have an affinity for, something we care about or we have strong emotional ties to. I'm proud of my arms because they help me help others, but I'm still testing the waters myself. Is that so? He pulled out his badge and thought over his life, training with his mentors, fighting alongside his friends, reuniting with family, saving people, all of his experience with his powers, making tendrils of racial similar to his come out of the seals in the form of a manji seal. Okay then, he said, not shocked in the least. At this point, he wasn't sure what would surprise him. How did you learn all this? He asked after dispelling his full brain. I was approached by a group called Execution, Chad said. They already knew about Ichigo. That did it. An unknown group knows about him. That surprised him. They're led by a man named Gigo Kugo. Ichigo's eyes widened before he disappeared almost a day before he left. Takati told him about the last human who became a Soul Reaper that disappeared almost a decade ago. The man of the same name as the leader of Execution hideout Saturday. After leaving a normal, peaceful week of school, Ichigo and Chad headed for Naruki City to where the Fullbringers hid. Masaki met with Orihime and Tatsuki about their suitability to date her son. She ended up accepting them both because together they resembled her. She wasn't too happy about the situation. She made it a requirement that she teach them about their wifely duties. That was an awkward time when he came home and both girls were only wearing aprons. Masaki insisted that they continue the lesson until he ran away. Now he and Chad were heading for Naruki as Chad voiced his distrust. Ganjo said their mission in life was to remove their powers, which can only be done by a human reaper. Who means Soul Reaper? He said, talking about the history he was told. But according to Jushiro, he's a former substitute Soul Reaper. There goes my trust in him. Yeah, stay on guard, the hybrid told his friend, fully aware they were being watched by someone. We'll use them to strengthen ourselves and decide what to do from there. They reached the apartment as Chad opened up the door. They were greeted by Tsukishima, who wore a happy face to see the two new members. Welcome back, Sato. Hello to you, Kurosaki, he said in a calm, friendly tone. Were you followed? He asked. No, we're good, Chad said as the rest of the Fullbringers came in. Well, Ichigo Kurosaki, Ginjo said as the hybrid came into view. I take it Sato has told you the situation. The two stared at each other, studying an opponent in the possibility of a fight. Yeah, I'll help you out, Ichigo said, pulling out his shirt to reveal a chrysanthemum tattoo on his chest, the insignia of the First Division. They locked away all of my powers. Didn't even need to. They just did. Even Ginjo let out a whistle. That's why we're hiding, the former substitute said. Society is cold and uncaring. We have to live in constant fear that they'll never find us. You're the only human Shinigami hybrid we found in years. The last one tried to kill us, he said while digging out a Soul Pass badge similar to Ichigo's. We're that desperate to get rid of our curses, to live without fear. Ichigo scanned the room to find everyone else nodding their heads, one man feeling the strap that covered what must be a missing eye. They were in agreement, Ichigo said, manifesting his infant figure. I'll free you of your curse of fear. You make me strong. If you make me stronger. Everyone's eyes widened aside from Chad at Ichigo's swift development before they even started. I've been told I'm natural when it comes to fighting. He shrugged as Ginjo grinned. Let's begin, he said, turning to Zuruka and Giriko. Let's start with the fish tank. The two Fullbringers nodded as they went to the back of the room, while a dark-skinned woman walked up to Ichigo. You and me first, kiddo, Jackie said, glaring at the young hybrid. Word of advice, you better treat this like a real fight, because I'm not holding back. Then the other two came back with a fish tank that had eyes and a mouth like a teddy bear. This place will be your battleground, Ruruka told Ichigo. You're lucky you're a hottie, otherwise this won't work. She rubs her thumb along her index fingers before flickering out a small heart with the letter R on it. The heart attached itself to Ichigo's shirt. My full bringer is called Dollhouse. Anything I'd like and put that pass on, I can move them freely into objects like this cute fish tank. She put her finger on the rim of the tank. I permit you, she said before Ichigo and Jackie were pulled into the fish tank. Urahara Shoten. Ishin wandered through the halls of the building that became the main base of operations for his squad, slowly transitioning from a simple shop and training center to a legitimate military barracks for soul reapers. Memories of helping his son train here filled him with nostalgia, as some rooms were completely redone to house the new occupants. That was his squad. The only person missing that would finish this base was his lieutenant by his side. Speaking of which, Captain Ishin, Lisa said, finally catching up to her new captain. He turned to greet the viceroy as she delivered her report. He already confirmed that Ichigo has made contact with Ginjo. That was fast. Does Ginjo trust him? Ishin asked. He remembered the first substitute Soul Reaper. Seemed like a good guy at first, but then again, so did Aizen. He really didn't like using Ichigo as bait, but they had little option with this. Either ignore him or find a way to bring him in. If there was anyone he trusted to take care of himself, it was his son. He seems to be baiting Ichigo and lying about his past, Lisa responded, adjusting her glasses. This is the last substitute Shinigami they've met tried to kill them, almost as if what Captain Utakata said about him was completely wrong. Ginjo was always a bad liar, Ishin said as he headed for Hiyori Station in the shop. It's easier to believe his memory is being manipulated by some means. They came into a room filled with monitors displaying rows of data, images of Karakura, the lines of text, along with a few specters. In front of it all was Hiyori, sitting in a high-back chair wearing her usual tracksuit and keeping an eye on everything. Called Dollhouse, they heard from one of the speakers. Anything I like input that pass on, I can move them freely into objects like this cute fish stick. I permit you. Well, sounds like he's just going to get stronger, Hiyori said before an image of Urahara and Yamato appeared on one of the screens. You get all that? Indeed, Urahara said, his curious mind already revealing what they've heard. The ability to manipulate the souls of everything around them, even a specialty skill wholly their own. This dollhouse seems to create her own filtered force or person self for anyone caught inside, but only subjective to her own emotions, Yamato said. I cannot deny Ginjo's claims about how he would have responded earlier, but as Ichigo has shown, change is upon us all. So what now? Ishin asked the two older captains. From best to worst case scenarios, Genryashi said, Genryashi stated, we could recruit them for the war, turn a blind eye, and they go about their lives, or they have to be put down. The statement hung in the air as Kisuke and Ishin silently prayed that the choice never came to pass. Execution fish tank. The moment the two entered, Jackie activated her full bring, Dirty Boots, and began attacking Ichigo. Since the Ichigo was on the defensive, evading her attacks and testing his full bring, he tossed his badge. He tried to cut with the reishi. He threw every gladius from his badge that had no cutting ability. It seemed like his full bringer was solely for defense. During this time, Jackie was taunting him for his complacency. What? And did you think you hot stuff activated your full bring? She yelled at him as he dodged another kick. You might have been powerful as a Soul Reaper, but you're just human right now with an ability you just got. You have to fight back or you'll never master your full bring. He threw more of those projectiles from his badge that she kicked to pieces with ease. My full bring, Dirty Boots, makes me stronger and faster with how dirty my boots get. While you've been running, I've gotten stronger. I've got stronger. Ichigo stood in place, looking at her with impassive gaze, like the entire situation was under his control. Give up? No response. I expected better. She charged at him as fast as she could go, ready to deliver a devastating kick. Too slow, she heard him say as he slipped past her attack and threw his fist into her gut, stopping her instantly. Too weak, he said as he managed to use Bringer Light to deliver a swift kick to her side and send her flying. You thought this was a challenge? I've played tag in my human body faster than this. You have no technique, just speed and power. He turned his focus on her again as his badge's Ryutsu started flaring wildly. I've been trained in all three, so my body could handle the kind of power my soul could unleash. I'm not the cocky one here. You are? The Ryotsu from his badge soon cloaked his body and turned into a ragged, smoky form of Shinigami robes with blades of swirling black energy extending from his hand. Now why don't you stop playing? It gave me a decent fight. At that moment his vision started to get fuzzy. Jackie was suddenly moving faster. He couldn't stop the harsh kick to his face that sent him flying. What the? She wondered as Ichigo seemed to be reacting slower to her movements. Ichigo must have made it so the odds are stacked against him. But what are the conditions? Outside the fish tank. So the only real method of training a Wolverine to its max potential is to force it out in combat, Chad asked, finally getting the chance to learn more about the development of Wolverine aside from the short summary that let know how it worked. Yeah, it's a simple concept but harder than you think, Ginjo said as the other Fullbringers were doing their things. You have to draw on the soul of the objects of your Wolverine more and more, like finding the strength to push yourself when you think you're at your limit. He turned his gaze up to the container that held Ichigo and Jackie, putting him in a life or death fight, at least making him think it is. Sometimes the best method. Over by the bar, Jericho checked his pocket watch. And it's only going to get harder for the poor boy. Everyone turned their gazes to him as he explained. For Sato's sake, I should explain. My ability is time tells no lies. No time tells no lies. With it, I can set timers so with the conditions within those time frames. The contract in the fish tank is thus: after 15 minutes, if neither of them calls off the training, then Jackie will move through accelerated time, while Ichigo will go through decelerated time. Jackie will be faster, and Ichigo will be slower. It's for the best. Tsukishima said, always fighting and training in his soul body is not the same as fighting in one of flesh and blood. They knew Ichigo had spent years training his spiritual power, but they thought he only trained in his soul body. He's only trained in his soul body twice, Chat said, making all eyes turn to him now. I only know as far back as middle school, but he's only spent years training to his limit in his physical body. Their eyes widened in shock. I thought you knew. When did you start watching him? Shortly after he became a Soul Reaper, Ginjo breathed out before hurrying over to the fish tank, which was shaking violently. Just as he reached it, it exploded. Everyone was shaken as they waited for the dust to settle down. The first thing they saw was the beaten and bruised Jackie, crystals in the arms of Ichigo, now clad in a white armor covered most of his body, with his badge becoming the guard of a short blade in his hands. A good portion of the armor was cracked, and he had some burns on his form. I exploded, he said, letting Ginjo know that he was referring to when he completed his full bring, something that shouldn't have been possible as anyone would have been torn apart by the power release unless another Fullbringer was there to control the output. The scariest part was Jackie didn't seem to have helped him at all. It hurt, Ichigo said as he handed Jackie to Chad. Now we can end this charade, Tsushima said, turning his bookmark into a katana and slashing the other Fullbringers as he moved toward Ichigo with all possible speed, which for any student of the Flash Goddess was not fast enough. Ichigo watched as Tsukishima got behind him and waited till the last second to deflect the man's sword, taking his attention away from the other Fullbringers. He caught Tsukishima in a blade lock as Ginjo got back up from the attack. Thanks for that, he said before aiming to impale Ichigo. He thrust for Ichigo's back before a clawed white hand caught his claymore blade. Hello, a warped voice sang out as Angetsu materialized from behind Ichigo, staring the former substitute in the eyes. He was in the same lean, horned form, the form from when Ichigo fought Kenpachi. That was nice. That wasn't nice. Or smart, he said before punching the backstabbing Fullbringer out of the apartment. Kugo! Tsukishima cried out, giving Ichigo the window to sucker punch the guy and follow Ginjo out of the small space. The other Fullbringers soon followed. Ichigo and Ginjo were standing across from each other in the air, staring down their opponent. I thought you said your powers were sealed, Ginjo yelled out furiously. Tsukishima could keep the plan a secret, so he altered the memories of every execution member to get Ichigo to drop his guard. You showed me your seal? Yeah, one of them, Ichigo said. I can't use those powers, but my Sanpakuto spirit could. The others, Sans, Chad, and Jackie, came up behind before a storm of spirit arrows flashed in front of them. They're talking. Don't be rude, Uryu said from the vantage point on the roof of the apartment. Backup's coming, Ichigo. You're really going to do this? Ginjo asked the orange-haired hybrid. You're going to condemn us all if society finds out about us. We're all dead. That badge is a tracker and the trace controller. If you step out of line, they'll render you helpless and kill you. They'll betray you just like they did me, the first substitute Soul Reaper. The two continued to glare at each other before Ichigo spoke up. First off, Ginju, I only said that they sealed my powers. If they didn't, my human body would have been destroyed by my Reitsu. They didn't have to seal all of them, but they did. I wouldn't come out of hiding otherwise, he said, dispelling his full ring, Sangetsu still protecting his partner. I'd still need a seal, but that's a rule regarding my rank. He pulled down his shirt to reveal two more flower seals, the Yado of Squad 11, and one that looks like a red spider lily. Speaking of, Hiyori, he asked, speaking into his badge. Conditions are met for level 1 and 2 seal release. Hiyori said from the comment link. Have fun, Baldy. Always with that stupid name, Ichigo groaned as they were getting surrounded by Soul Reapers. But whatever, I've been aching to do this. He placed his hand on his chest as the Yato and Higanbana flowers glowed. Limit release, he said, bringing the badge to his chest as the seals faded. He exited his body, and his face flared explosively. Some of the Brave Shikigami recovered Ichigo's body and began bringing it to safety. Soon his Reiatsu began to settle and reveal Ichigo with black bands on his arms, ankles, and neck, and a badge on his left arm with the kanji 15 and the Higabana insignia underneath it. Squad 15, Lieutenant Ichigo Kurosaki, he said, leveling a glare at Ginjo. And you're under arrest. End of chapter 31.